place where real dialogue matters.
Make some noise for that sound, man.
It is time to take flight with Audio Airstrike.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Audio Airstrike. I'm your host, Everett Hall-McNeill. Thank you for joining us. Now, I have two guests at this time to my right, unfortunately, which is probably you guys' left. Tell them who you are.
My name is Jon Garcia. I am a videographer / editor and graphic designer for Spring Productions, and then I am also the lead frontman and songwriter for Jon Garcia and the Hopeless Romantics.
Okay, cool, awesome, man. Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
Lucky I'm being nice.
Off to a great start.
And then to my left, which is probably your guys' right, I got Evy with me. Evy Zee, talented musician, talented singer in her own right, singer-songwriter in her own right. Evy, how you been doing?
I've been great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I'm
no problem.
excited.
See, you get a proper introduction.
Thank
John
you,
gonna
I
have to introduce
appreciate
himself.
I like that.
Because you want to talk spicy and somebody he forgot who produced the show. You want to talk spicy with me earlier? I produced this
Better
freaking
watch
show.
yourself, John.
Man,
He's sitting a little
Everett's
close
being
to you
a little
right now.
salty there.
After this weekend, I got a right to be, and let it be known.
Valid.
I'm not saying nothing about you know what. I'm not talking about you know who. I'm not talking about you know where, and I'm not talking about a certain bird. Which reminds me, Matt Tarker, me and you got to talk for your little spicy comments earlier, because there's a difference between a crow and a raven. So if you're going to talk spicy on some other news feed, make sure you understand the difference between birds first.
I tried to warn him, Matt, so we got to have him.
It's about to go down.
I'm just saying. And also what's about to go down is celebrities going around and putting their foot in their mouth when it comes to politics. And they were recently called out by Ricky Gervais, who was at the Golden Globes this year. For those of you who saw the video, it was warranted. It was needed. I know people are going to say, well, the producers let him do that. Well, duh, every show got a producer, fool. You know what I'm saying? Every show has a producer. Every show has somebody who is in the trenches and looking at what needs to be done and what it takes to make an entertaining show. With that being said, what I think about it is this, and I'll let you guys chime in after. Sure. In my personal opinion, when I sit over here and I look at what potentially he has done is call out every celebrity in the group that needed to be called out. Because for the past couple of years, celebrities have gone around and have spoken about politics and different stuff of that nature. But the issue comes in is that there are certain things that they're disconnected from when you compare them to middle class American society, which runs the entire infrastructure, or I should say is the hamster wheel of the entire infrastructure of America. We function off of the middle class working. That's not a secret. That is the absolute facts. So for a celebrity to sit over there and be uneducated at times in their speech, use trigger words to get a happy reaction is not good enough. And I think Ricky Gervais did a good job, because anybody who knows Ricky Gervais's comedy style, it is as spicy as it gets, but it's also very articulate in design. So if we're going to sit over here and have a discussion, I need celebrities to be more humble, also be a better listener. Instead of just looking at bullet points, I need celebrities to have a proven record over the stuff they have not only done in the community, but also the stuff they've done politically, to speak on these issues, because I feel like you're just either doing it for attention or there's an ulterior motive in play. And I don't vibe well to people just doing ulterior motives for just popular gain. I don't vibe well to that. So that's just my opening thoughts. What's yours? Evy, we'll start off with you first.
I 100% agree. I feel like nowadays it's really become like this cover up, like, hey, keep it light and fluffy. And he just kind of just was super blunt and upfront about everything, which is super admirable. And like, I feel like he's going to get a lot of heat for it, but he's also going to get a lot of more respect for it, because nowadays it's just people don't say anything because they don't want to offend anyone, but it's nice to see somebody that says, I don't care. Like, I just genuinely don't care. It's the truth. And it's really nice to see that. So, I mean, I personally really enjoyed seeing that. And like, finally someone's just speaking the truth about something.
Yeah, because I feel like it's very warranted that conversation needs to happen. John, what were your thoughts on it?
No, I mean, like, it's really just the same thing for me. I mean, like, I just piggyback just off of just like what Evie's saying. I feel like now is like such an awesome time within like social media and just the culture that's just been created to where it's just like such a unique time to be able to speak what you believe. And I think if anything that it's been more accepted and there's more support to really just speak what you really believe and what you I mean that's just really it. And I think that's just such an awesome and such an empowering a type of thing. Now, with that said, I mean, like, obviously there's a positive and there's a negative approach with that, and there's an accountability with that. But I think that's just like really, really awesome. As I would imagine there's been a lot of support for his blunt statements that he's made, but also there's probably been some backlash. Has there been any backlash with that?
It's 2020. I'm expecting people to be sensitive and
100%.
backlash and
He's
get
probably
offended and go
right
on
off
Twitter.
the stage, he's probably like, man, you've got some real balls doing something like that. Like,
right.
Sure. But I think like also like it's also that blunt statement of like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I stand for, and this is the path that I'm taking. And I just think that's, I don't know. I keep on saying this to a lot of my friends. It's just like, dude, it's just such an awesome time to like not be afraid of like what you believe or what you stand or what you stand for,
Yeah.
and to embrace that.
And I think we're finally coming to a point where now, like, we came from several years of people just being offended by literally everything and just
Right.
being so overly sensitive. And I'm saying that because it's true. Like, it's just something that, like, people just the slightest word that you might have used accidentally, that all of a sudden someone is offended by it. And it's just like, it's finally coming past that point where people are like, okay, that's enough. Like, this is the reality. Just get over it. Like, it's really nice to see that. And even watching the video, you can see, like, right off the bat when he started, everyone was quiet. And then once people started, like, getting comfortable with the idea, everyone was laughing at the end and like, okay, this is reality. Like, he's right. We shouldn't be so offended by something that is the truth. So, yeah.
Right. I
nice.
definitely agree. I think we're now in a situation where cancel culture is pretty much dead.
Right.
For this reason and this reason alone, because when you sit over there and look at what has happened during the cancel culture wave, and I'm sitting over here and I'm peeping everything, it's like, all right, people are finally starting to realize just how whack this whole thing is. Like,
Right.
You're destroying. So the people that initiated cancel culture, and it is a rack of people, it ain't just one type of group. It's a collective of y'all. It's a collective of y'all from different backgrounds saying whatever. And the second that somebody has old tweets or something of that nature, you went at them. The problem with that is that you can't get over your past hurt for whatever reason, and everybody's dealing with something. You can't get over your past hurt, so then you internalize it by doing this practice, which is the very thing that you should be going against. But instead of being an admirable, very articulate activist about some of these things that you were seeing, some of the things that you dealt with when you growing up, you're handling it particularly in almost in the same way that the person that oppressed you handled it. Mm-hmm. So it creates this huge hypocrisy issue and then causes people not to trust your judgment and causes people not to trust you in general as a person. Everything you say then becomes skewed, and that's when we realize you're a part of the cancel culture group and you're whack for it.
And I was seeing, I'm actually really enjoying seeing what's being posted now, because I actually saw a post the other day that was, it's not always what everybody else does to you. Sometimes your actions cause other people's hurt as well. Like, you're not supposed to just blame everyone else for things that you feel offended by. You need to be stronger as a person, and you know what? Take it. If you are offended, okay, but sometimes it's okay to be silent about, okay, that's what I'm mad about, but sometimes not everyone else is going to be mad about it. So, like, you have to understand that everyone around you, sometimes it's something that you're doing to cause the hurt. So, like, that's like a, that was a big one.
I feel like we and you talk about this all the time, to where it's like, and me and you talk about this all the time, is like, it's all about that energy, not necessarily to what you put into that person, but also to that.
Don't be that guy that says energy and vibes every other 5 seconds. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy.
No, I feel like that's just like really big with me, and just that what you're saying, Evie, is like. It's like knowing when to be quiet and knowing when to say something, but also like we could go down this hole. Is like actions speak louder than words. Like it's like, hey, you can be a quote unquote activist on like keyboard warrior like on Facebook, but if you're like not in the trenches, like actually making those actions of like trying to actually do something there, like it's whack. Like you're not doing anything. Like. Dude, like, and that's like my whole entire thing is just like, okay, it's one to say something, and like stand by that statement, but to actually first show that support within your like community, and you're trying to create that community of what you're about. That's what's actually like standing by your actions, and like that's like something that's really big with me with the LGBTQ community, and especially the multiple amount of communities that are coming out of the trenches. Like it's just, I just feel like, I don't know, like with growing up like 10 years ago, vice versa to what it is 10 years now. Like there's so much opportunity, and there's so much acceptance, and there's so much support. And I'm not saying like there isn't like backlash towards that. That's just the situation.
It's just gonna come with the territory anyway.
Yeah. That's just gonna come with the territory. But I feel like if you know who you are, and there's that acceptance, and there's actually that building of a community, like you're gonna do great things.
Well, see, here's the key: people gotta know who they are and know their worth. Yeah. If you don't know those two things, you're going to run into issues,
absolutely.
And then you're going to be dealing with people that are going to exploit that.
And we all have our faults, and we all have to just accept those faults and understand that, like, it's just, that's a big one. It's nice to see that people are doing a lot of self-healing instead of putting it out on everyone else. That's what I'm seeing that's reoccurring a lot nowadays, too.
Well, the biggest thing is that there's those tools. Mm-hmm. Like, there's those tools towards that support, to where there's that actual community, to where it's like, hey, it isn't just like this bullshit of like, yeah, hey, we're here for you. Like, it's like actual people like, hey, there's these programs here that can actually help you and invest into you. Because it's not only about like the investment or the accountability that you put into yourself, but it's also the investment that others put into you. And like, for me, that's like a source of a community. That's how you build a foundation. That's how you build that community.
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense when it comes to community building and also being an activist and putting your words to action. One of the big keys with that is that you have to understand, as somebody who's a leader, that you are not right 100% of the time.
Absolutely.
You may not even be right half of the time, but to go forward and be willing to be like, look, I'm not perfect. I may get stuff wrong, but this is my life goal. This is what I'm trying to do, and these are my intentions behind it. If you make that clear enough to people, then you will start to see some of this stuff that you're trying to protest about or talk about, or stuff you may have issues with. And it could be something as big as racism, or it could be something as small as you had a quarrel with a friend. I don't care. Those principles are still there, and those principles need to be kept intact, because it helps you become a better person. It helps you become a better leader, and it also helps you. And also, listening is very important. You have to listen. I'm not talking about just listening to the words people say and how they say it. I'm talking about body language too.
That's right.
Because sometimes the body language of people can tell you, okay, he's not as confident. Somebody hurt him in the past. She's dealing with a lot all at once this week. Okay, she been through it from this way. Like,
well, to add on like what you're saying, sorry to interject, but like I feel like it's all about the dynamic of that conversation. So like, and also like the chemistry that you and the forwardness that you have with not only yourself, but the openness to what you're talking about is like, hey, I'm wrong about this situation, and yeah, we agree to disagree, but having that humbleness and acceptance of being like, hey,
Yeah, not just fight it with anger and
Right.
be like,
right,
that's wrong.
right, and it's not
Yeah.
black and white, or it's not completely gray.
'Cause
And
I'm-
it's like being able to accept. We talk about this all the time,
Right.
like being able to accept like our differences and be like, hey, I don't agree with that, bro, but like I want to learn from you. Because like I want to learn from this situation, and I also want to grow from this situation.
as it should be, because the reality of the situation is like there's 3 individuals on your screen or wherever you're watching this, and I want to say this as a sidebar. We appreciate everybody that's listening to this, whether it's on SoundCloud or iTunes, or whether this is on YouTube or wherever you're getting this information, Instagram or that sort. We definitely appreciate it. Now back to this. One of the things that I will say is that look, there's 3 different personalities. We're not going to all agree on the same exact thing. But when we come together, we don't let that stop us from learning from each other.
Facts.
So when it comes towards, like, there may be some things I may not understand from a mental perspective that they could help me on, or maybe there's some things from a spiritual perspective they don't understand that I can help them on. I'm just using examples so people get an idea. When I'm meeting people, I'm not asking you to be this perfect, unrealistic personality that's in my head. I don't do that to people, and I don't have people do that to me. The way I look at it is this. I'm going to treat you the same way I would want to be treated. I may not agree with everything that you say or do, but just on the simple fact you're a human being, I'm a human being, both of our blood is the same color. Look, we may have different backgrounds and this and that, but look, I said I'm going to give you the benefit of a doubt. Let's just get to know each other and see where this goes.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Just on the simple fact of that's a human being who's on maybe not on the same path you're on, but everybody's on a certain journey to get something done and accomplished. You're leaving a legacy behind one way or another, good or bad. So if these roads start to intertwine where you're meeting people, it makes sense to take that approach instead of being some judgmental person that goes around and says, well, I'm going to make everybody else hurt, but I'm going to word it like I'm being an activist, which is what I can't stand about cancel culture to begin with.
And I feel like, see, we can go really deep into this rabbit hole, but I feel like it all comes down.
Oh, talk more to Mike.
Like, we were talking about like self-acceptance, and like I think it also comes down to like what you're speaking to someone, and also how you're being perceived in that situation. You get what I'm saying? And it like I like every single conversation that I have, like regardless if I'm right or wrong, it's not about me being right. Like that's the way I pursue every single conversation. Even if I have like a disagreement upon the situation, it's like, all right, like I've always had the mentality just based of like what other people have taught me has been like, hey, what can I learn from you? It's not about like a right or a wrong, but what can I learn from you? What can you learn from me? And how can we move forward together? It's about building that foundation together. And I just feel like, and not to bring like politics into this or anything like that, but especially like with the Trump campaign, like it was very like black and white. And like with the other side of it, it was just like, hey bro, like let's just have a conversation. Like let's just talk. I'm
gonna have to challenge you right there. I'm gonna have to challenge you right there, and here's why.
Right. Okay.
When you mentioned Trump about the Trump campaign about being judgmental, let me say this for the people on your side, for the people on that side over there.
Sure.
y'all all being played. You being played because they're exploiting stuff that's in your favor, which is making you vote for them. They are being exploited because they are, what's the way I could say this respectfully? You're married to a certain party. They're married to a certain party. And the only reason why y'all have chosen to be married to that party is because they are voting for what you guys are in favor of and what you guys think.
Sure.
They may not be perfect, but I rather vote for this person because they agree more with what I sympathize with than the other side. The problem is, here's the thing. They can make a decision at any given point to exploit or ignore. Let me ask you a question. Me and you got friends on that LGBT community side.
Right.
Don't be surprised in 10 years or 5 years or so, they end up getting ignored. Why?
Right.
I don't need your votes anymore.
Right.
I have you hooked. I've been building this since 2013 when gay marriage got accepted. I have you hooked now.
Right.
You're married to the party. You ain't going to change.
Yeah, but I also think that, like, there's a difference between, like, the people who actually, like, we were talking about, like, communities and things like that. There are people who, like, and I'm not trying to put some shade, but there are the people that are, like, trending because, like, it's a beautiful rainbow, and to actually seeing what that what LGBT actually stands for, and actually believing those things.
I get that. I'm not going down that rabbit hole of what they believe or whatever.
Oh,
I'm talking about the political manipulative game that happens that people don't realize they're in.
Sure.
So that's why
I can respect that.
I'm giving you kind of education on the fact that y'all at any given point, and this is for people that are also gun owners, also right-wing thoughts, y'all can get played too. I made a decision a long time ago not really to trust any type of party because people can be manipulated and ignored at every given point.
Absolutely. The news, man. I mean, like, the news is not even news. It's not even based off of facts, like Fox. Like,
but
like,
and that's another thing.
Like, it's an opinionated station to where it's, like, not built on facts, like, to where it's, like, hey, like, this is what happened here today. It's like, oh, this is how I feel about that situation.
Well, here's another aspect you got to look at. If a liberal buys a news station, what do you think is going to happen?
Sure.
If a conservative buys another publication or a news station, what do you think is going to happen? If somebody who doesn't trust either party at all buys a news station, out of all three of these, what you think? Out of all these three, which one you going to think is fair? You see what I'm saying? Like,
it's a marketing scheme for sure. Like, I totally.
It's more than a marketing scheme.
Like,
it's way more than a marketing scheme. It is a, and I'm not trying to.
No. You're good.
It is way more than a marketing scheme. What this is this is a divisive system, which is what politics is, and we're not going to get on politics too much in this episode.
You're good.
When it comes to the political system, the political system forces good-hearted people that want to see a change to do stuff for the benefit of the party that may piss off the entire public and may stress out several classes of Americans more, and then to disguise or distract, here's a story to keep these set of people distracted and go at each other, whether it be racism, whether it be discrimination, whether it be taxes, whether it be money, whether it be gun control. We are going to put out a bunch of hyperbole to distract you from what we're trying to do over here.
Hence is why the whole Trump campaign succeeded. Like,
part of that is true, but there's more to that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's way
definitely
more.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
I get where you're coming from, but mentally where you're at, you are more on the liberal side.
Sure.
Safe to say that?
Yeah. No, that's completely safe.
And I'm not judging anybody's political beliefs, but I'm on the side of I don't trust none of these people because this system has been put in place to ignore or exploit.
Right. And I feel like
I understand that, yeah.
I mean, like, so where I stand, like, on all of that, I feel like we, as a nation, we are naturally selfish, and
You're not naturally selfish. You were taught how to be selfish. That's the difference.
Okay, I can appreciate where you're coming
You
from.
were taught how to be. We are not.
To be selfish and blinded.
We are not. We are not. You know, we're not to be selfish and blinded, but also we have to understand that we were raised off of Western Hemisphere teachings. So Eastern culture, it's about coming together. It's about community. What are we gonna like? How are we gonna help each other out? That sort of thing. That's why when you look at, I respect the crap out of Asian communities because they will sit over here and figure it out. Like think about it.
I hear what you're saying, but
Think about it. Think about Latino communities. They will work together. They will live in a house that's not even as big as my room, and then figure out how to build everybody up and grow several businesses.
Sure, and I completely get what you're saying, but I'm saying within context. So I'm not necessarily saying like selfish in that approach. I'm saying selfish in how it's being capitalized. So what I'm saying is actually for us as a nation, like it's always about now, and it's not necessarily about the process.
What if I told you it is always going to be about now, and the process will change depending on how much leverage and equity
Sure.
we have on our end as the one percenters and as the elitist in our own brain. We got a bunch of plays on this playbook that have worked for countless of times. Why change it?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And what Ricky Gervais said at the Golden Globes, it was much bigger than cancel culture. It was a psychology class. It was a hard-nosed psychology class about all these things. Because this is like what he pointed out is just what you see up top. You see the plant. What we talking about here is the roots
Sure.
of what he's talking about.
My favorite part about the whole thing of his speech was as he's saying the things that he says, he goes, I know, I don't care. I see your reaction. I don't care. I'm still going to say it because it needs to be known.
Right.
And like that was my absolute favorite part about that because he is aware of the things that he's saying and he knows that people are going to be super upset about it, but people need to know about it. So like it's I don't know, it's admirable that he did that.
I mean, it's warranted. It's warranted, and we definitely need to have these conversations. And I'm glad, and I applaud Ricky Gervais for having to be in the one comedian that wasn't afraid to sit over there and say, all right, this is just bull crap, and I'm going to say what I have to say. And even if the producers gave him the green light, I think behind the scenes, I think the producers were thinking the same thing, being like, this is a very
well, and I think like one of the things that just end it is like I think what's awesome about these conversations is that it's actually, I guess, like we're biased against our own culture with knowing it or without knowing it, right? And I feel like that's where we need to be intact of like what we're speaking and what we're actually acting like.
right.
And I think that's really the challenge, like as an activist, where it's just like, hey, what can I accept? What can we actually do about it?
Right. And let me say this for the record. This needs to be heard because people being like, well, why are you picking on? I'm using these as an example so you understand the chess game, the bigger chess games that are going on. And I'm kind of glad we actually touched on this issue more in depth.
Absolutely.
Because this definitely needs to be talked about. I want to get to the Golden Globe winners, for those of you who don't know. Best Motion Picture Drama was 1917, which didn't come out yet till this weekend, so I'm wondering if there was private screenings. Best Motion Picture for a Musical or Comedy, the winner was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That was directed by Quentin Tarantino. Best Performance by an Actress in a Motion Picture, that was Renee Zellweger for Judy. And Best Performance by Actor in a Motion Picture, the winner was Joaquin Phoenix for Joker. Well deserved for sure. Best Performance by an Actress in a Motion Picture, that was, her name is hard to pronounce, I'm not even gonna butcher it. She won. She is from the show The Farewell. I'm not gonna do that to her. And best performance by actor in a motion picture, musical, or comedy. Taron Egerton from Rocket Man. And then best performance by an actress in a supporting role in a motion picture, Laura Dern from Marriage Story. I don't know how I feel about that pick. But I mean, she did a good job on it. I just don't know. I don't know if she should have got that for that. I'm not no hate. I'm just saying. Best performance by actor in a supporting role in any motion picture, Brad Pitt for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Best director went to Sam Mendes for 1917. Best screenplay, no surprise, the GOAT when it comes to writing screenplays. One of the GOATs. Quentin Tarantino for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Yeah. And best motion picture is, for animated film, is Missing Link, that beat out Frozen 2. I don't know if you call it an upset or not. But, best motion picture for foreign film language, Parasite, easily. Ain't nobody beating that this year. Best original score motion picture, whoever her name is hard to pronounce, Hildur, and the rest I'm not pronouncing because I'm not trying to butcher it, for Joker. Best original song motion picture, the winner is I'm Gonna Love Me Again, Elton John, Rocket Man. And then best TV series drama, Succession. I gotta check that out. I've never seen that one.
Rocket Man was great.
Rocket Man was amazing.
That's a recommendation. I should say it.
That's
yeah,
a good
absolutely.
Okay. Best television series, musical or comedy, Fleabag. It's a weird name for a movie title. Best television limited series or motion picture made for television, Chernobyl was the winner of that one. Best performance by an actress in a limited series or motion picture made for television, and the winner was Michelle Williams for Fosse Verdon. Best performance by an actor in a limited series or television made for, because I'm getting tongue-tied here. Best performance by an actor in a limited series or motion picture made for television, Russell Crowe, The Loudest Voice.
I mean, it's Russell Crowe.
It's Russell Crowe.
It's Russell
He's just
Crowe.
an inspirational person.
Right.
You're not getting past it if he gets the right role. Best performance by an actress in a television series drama.
Jennifer Aniston was up for winning.
Yeah, she didn't win.
That's interesting.
Olivia Colman, The Crown. Well, that's probably why.
Yeah, true.
Best performance by an actor in a television series drama, Brian Cox, Succession, who beat out Kit Harington from Game of Thrones. After the way that last season, he definitely ain't winning no Golden Globe for that one. I feel bad for him. Best performance by an actress in a television series, musician, and comedy, it's Phoebe Waller-Bridge for Fleabag. And then the rest you guys can figure out. But those were some of the big awards. Also, they honored Tom Hanks with an award for his legacy and what he left behind. But I do have to bring this up to kind of break up the monotony of the script. What's up with his son thinking he's Jamaican?
What are you talking about?
Okay, so and I'll talk about it because I'm from what it seems like I don't know if it's people have caught on to this.
Common knowledge.
Chet Hanks, or who is being called Shaba Hanks, his son, is speaking patois, which is like a Jamaican slang.
Okay.
And he's doing it fluently.
Really?
Is this a recent thing, or this has been going on for a while?
No, this was this week. It went kind of in the airways this week. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I saw a couple videos. I was waiting for him to get canceled. I hate to say it. I was waiting for it. But it's actually funny and receptive.
Is it?
Hey, people ain't saying, "Oh, get him out of here." Cultural appropriation.
Right.
He's another Rachel Dolezal. Like it's people are actually pretty positive about it. They're either getting the jokes off because they think it's hilarious, or they're saying, "Well, let the man live."
I haven't seen it, so I don't have.
It was a viral. It was like this viral video. He was at the Golden Globes because his dad was getting honored, and he just started fluently speaking. He's white, so I can't say fluently. I can't say fluently. Be like, what you mean? He's white. He can't speak fluent. Well, he ain't from there, so I can't really. I mean, it's just facts. You can't cancel me. It's my show. So when I sat over here and looked at the stuff, I'm like, what is this guy doing? My first instinct was like, what the hell is he doing? Like, does he not know? First, I was like, yo, they will get him up out of here quick.
Right.
Especially for some cultural appropriation type of stuff. But I looked at the comments. Everybody was very receptive and found it funny. So who knows? With that being said, that is it for the Golden Globes.
Can I say this? I was actually really glad that what was his name? Joaquin
Phoenix.
Joaquin, that's it. Well deserved, really well deserved. Phenomenal performance with the Joker. I mean, it was like, what are your guys' thoughts? Like, I'm curious.
I saw it in the theaters when it came out, and I said he'll get an Oscar for it.
Oh, 100%.
That was it. Literally, I only
crossed my mind.
seen
I
it
was
one
like,
time.
oh, yeah, he's definitely getting something for this because it was phenomenal. He really played that character really well, and I think a lot of the whole Joker, like, everyone was really kind of. There was a lot of people who were disappointed and like thought it was going to be kind of funny, but it's not supposed to be funny. So, just a side note on that.
Well, and also like with the context with the Joker, I think one of the things that I loved about it was just like how raw and like the human element of
they
like,
really
this
captured his portion of the story. It really made it. Yeah, he did a really good job. So yes, I agree. That was very well deserved.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. He definitely deserves an award, and Harvey Weinstein deserves time in jail. He is currently now going to court and paying, hopefully, by the time this whole court process ends, he will pay for his crimes. I don't have too much to say about this, but they need to lock that man up and throw away the key.
Right.
This man is responsible for making Hollywood a living nightmare. The stuff that he's done, the people he's manipulated, the different women, and maybe actors too. He has sat back over here and he has been aware of this. He is because he is at one point he was one of the most powerful people in Hollywood. I guess he thought he was untouchable, thought he could get away with it. That's not the case here.
Right.
One of the things that we need to take into account is that at some point, if you keep doing this deplorable stuff, it's going to come out. Yes, I was talking about Harvey Weinstein. The one thing that has came good out of cancel culture is the exposure of this man who has hurt a lot of people, hurt a lot of good people in the industry, in the film industry. And it's one of those situations where the one time I will say this and the only time I will say thank God for the amount of cancel culture that was surrounding him in particular. Everything else was whack. Trash. I don't want to hear it or talk about it.
Say this actually.
Go ahead.
I think like they like especially like with the amount of negative that came with like Harvey Weinstein like situation, like it provided like also like an outlet for not only like women but also like men within the Me Too movement to actually come out and say like, hey, like this is what happened to me. I'm not saying that like there's definitely been some elaborated stories within like the Me Too movement, and there's definitely been that. But one thing I just definitely want to say is like there has definitely been like an amount of like support and a community that has just supported these women and have been like, hey, like we fully support you in what you're doing right here, and you are in a safe space. Now, do I think this could have been an opportunity 10 years ago? No, absolutely not. Because I feel like the culture in terms of like opportunity and for a quote unquote woman to be able to speak out and be like, hey, like, this is something that I went through. And I think it's all about how you speak that context of that conversation, because I feel like there have been people that have really used the opportunity to have that conversation, and the people who have abused that situation.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you're hitting on. And all in all, I just want justice to be served. I want the truth to come out.
Yeah.
I want him to be exposed, and which he already is being exposed, and people have several stories in Hollywood about...
And there are more Harvey Weinsteins, dude. Like, that's the other thing that really came out of this situation, was it, like, really weeded out, like, a lot of the men, and not particularly men, but, like, just people in general that were abusing their power.
Right. I definitely agree with that, that more people got exposed. But at the same time, we need that steady, honest come forward. The second that somebody sits over there and doesn't come forward, you're letting that abuser off the hook to hurt somebody else. Mm-hmm. So we need more people to come forward that have a truthful accusation, because that is going to help get these pieces of garbage out of the way.
And the issue is that another problem with that is a lot of people are taking advantage of it,
sure.
Which especially the non-truthful ones. So when someone truthful comes up, it's like people that are like, it's kind of hard to believe because of this. You really like take a second, like if it's truthful, please come forward. That's really, really important. And please, like, don't take advantage of it, because that's the reason why people don't want to come forward, is because they don't know if they're going to be believed. So, like, there's that whole, like, balance between each other. But you know what? Like, if you are truthful about something, stand up for yourself. Do that. But please don't take advantage of it, because the ones that need to speak up and, like, are holding it in are the ones that need to be heard. So that's something that is really hard, especially in this time frame, because a lot of people like to take advantage of those things. And I get it. Like, if you're truthful about it, freaking stand up, do it. Like, absolutely. Because you don't want those people to get away with it.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And speaking of somebody who is standing in his truth, it has been revealed via TMZ that Justin Bieber has been dealing with, now he's been diagnosed with Lyme disease. Justin Bieber made these comments after the news was released, and this is from his Instagram. While a lot of people keep saying Justin Bieber, quote unquote, looks like shit or meth or etc., they fail to realize that I have recently been diagnosed with Lyme disease. Not only that, but a serious case of chronic mono, which affected my skin, brain, function, energy, and overall health. These things will be explained further in a docu-series I'm putting on YouTube shortly. You can all learn that I've been battling and overcoming. It's been a rough couple of years, but getting the right treatment that will help this so far incurable disease, and I will be back and better than ever, no cap. He ain't using no kind of punctuation at all, so that threw me off. My thoughts on this are, I was wondering why he took a long break from music. At first, I thought it was the antics, and then the breakup, and then a whole bunch of other stuff that had nothing to do with his health.
Sure.
So I'm like, okay, it's understandable. Mentally, it could be taxing. You need time off. That makes sense. I had no idea until recently that it was about this. So I'm kind of shocked because this doesn't, you don't hear really, it's becoming more evident now that people his age and people in their early 20s and even people in their late 20s, people in their 20s with so much accessibility at that age, it's going to take a mental toll on you. But some people forget the physical too.
For sure. And I mean, this is news to me. I had no idea that Justin was going through this at all. But also Avril Lavigne went through the same thing. She took off music, and a lot of people don't know about that. And then she took off, I don't think it was maybe 4 to 6 years of music, and then all of a sudden she came out with this amazing album. A lot of people were thinking that she was going through the divorce and like she was going through relationship things, and she kept it completely silent. And I get like that's really something personal, and you don't really want to like reveal something like that because it's traumatic to yourself, and it's just kind of like, you know what, I'm going to keep this to myself. But like, so like it's crazy to me that went through. This also hits like a personal side because one of my family members also suffers from Lyme disease, and I understand the toll that takes because like she has the stage 4, like the worst case, and it hits her in like the most inconvenient time. So like that hits home, and I understand, like, so I can understand why he took it off because that's just way too much.
Yeah, it's too much. It's too much to deal with at once. You got to think the lifestyle that he is in. He needs to take that time to get his mental health together. Not only mental health, but also physical health as well. I hope he's getting all the right treatment. I hope he's doing exactly what he needs to do. John, I want your thoughts on this issue because you're a musician. You've dealt with physical health before and stuff of that nature that you had to change some stuff around.
Yeah.
So I want your thoughts on the psychology, what mentally he could be doing with dealing with that.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's, like, 3 sides to it. I mean, you could argue 4. But, like, I mean, like I'm a videographer / editor and graphic designer. Me and my sister own our own media production company for the last 10 years. And just the amount of like emotional toll that you have just doing something, and Evie can actually attest this too, because with her own business and everything like that, from a personal toll, 365 days of the year, like this is your living. This is just what you have to do. And just the stress factor of like that you go through on that is just enough. But then also I'm a person that struggles with diabetes, finding out, about 3 years ago that I did that I had diabetes along with my sister, especially growing in my family and stuff like that, and making life changes. Because it is a life thing. It is a disease, and it's one of those things to where it's just like you have a decision to where you can live each day to its fullest by what you put into your body, literally put into your body based on your diet. Mm-hmm. Or you can be selfish and say, I don't give a crap about myself. I don't care about the people that love me. And I'm choosing to die. And it is a conscious, intentional decision. And it's a very, very hard thing to do, especially like if you're not a driven person, and if you don't have that those people in your life that keep you accountable. And I'm lucky enough to have so many people. You included Everett and Evie, some of my best friends.
No, we'll keep you accountable, all right.
Yeah, and it's
darn tootin'.
Yeah, and I'm just lucky to be in the situation that I'm in, especially with transitioning this last year of like, owning the East Coast side of Springwood and everything like that. It's definitely been a transition for me and my sister, but in terms of like medical stuff, it's all about what you put in, dude.
It's so true. And I, in the past year or two, I struggled with thyroid issues. I struggled with a lot of grieving, and I understand the toll that it does on your mental health. I mean, a lot of people wonder why I kind of went radio silent for as long as I did, was because my health was not doing great either, and it was something that you don't really want to tell people. It's not something that you don't want. I hate people feeling sorry for me. Like, that's not right. Like, I don't want the pity. It's not anything that I want. And I can probably understand why Justin never said anything, because he doesn't want to feel sorry for it. He wants to be He's like, you know what? I'm going to come out of this better. I'm going to come out of this stronger, and I'm going to get better music from this. Like, this is just, I have to do my own self-healing, and that's not something I want to tell everyone and broadcast everywhere, because my fans are going to feel sorry for me, and that's not something that I want. And I personally understand that, because I don't want people to know that I had a scare of not being able to sing again. Like, that is terrifying. And like, being a co-writer and like working with musicians and doing that side of things, I had to take a step back, because like, I'm dealing with my own personal stuff, so I don't want that to affect my work for their music or my work for my own personal music. So like, it's really good to take that time off and like really evaluate and like make sure that you're strong enough to, you know what, I'm going to say this, like, this is the time that I'm ready. Like, I'm strong enough to let everybody know, and I want you guys to know that I don't need to feel sorry for. I'm better now. I'm working on it. I'm getting the help that I need. So like, I just need these people to just support me and be like, hey, we're going to do this together. You're going to be 10 times better than what you were. So,
and that's the best thing for anybody dealing with these issues, whether they're a musician or not, especially with Justin Bieber. I mean, I don't care if he has the money to get the best treatment in the world possible. This is still an issue. He's still a human being at the end of the day. So we're definitely praying for his well-being and his health and stuff of that nature. And I think it's very crucial. He recently put out a single called Yummy. My quick thoughts on it is the song is not for me. That is not specifically targeted for me. The song is more targeted for a feel-good party song for early 20s, mid-20s, college age.
17.
Right.
Yeah.
What is going to be for me, though, is those hard ballads where he is probably going to be talking about the stuff that he's dealing with in the songs that have not been released yet. Mm-hmm. That is what I'm looking forward to. So I'm not hating. The song just ain't for me. I'm looking at more of the more adult content where he is opening up and talking about this stuff in his song about the struggle he wants to deal with. I want to know more about this story behind all this.
Justin's always been a real dude. I mean, like, he's just always been a real deal, with, especially with his struggles. Like, you can tap into interviews to where he talks about, like, with his faith.
But I think this is kind of a moment where he is going to really embrace his music side.
Sure.
Like, something that Lady Gaga did was, like, her pop albums before was just, like, it got her out there, but now she stands so strong for herself because she took that break.
Because it's not formula anymore.
And she's like, you know what? Like, I am this person, and now people relate to her on an emotional level, on levels that people didn't think that Lady Gaga would have promoted. But now, like, she went through struggles of her own, and people need to know that, like, everybody's human. Everybody has their faults. Everybody has their crap they've got to deal with. And I feel like Justin is finally getting to that point. Like, a lot of his music is really great, but they're not really his music. Like, you can tell that he's, like, there's some songs that he's written that
there's
are
a strategy
personal.
with the studio to put out certain songs.
But now he's got his own fan base. He's figuring out that, you know what, this is me, and if you don't accept me for me, okay, fine. But I feel like he's going to get such a strong feedback from this now, because now people will understand what he's actually going through once he releases that stuff. So,
well, two things. I mean, I feel like within the last 3 years, Justin has gone through a lot of, like, self-discovery. Like, just really just, like, yes, he released his album with purpose. And that was really him saying, like, hey, this is where I am. Mm-hmm. Like, it's nasty, but this is where
every artist has to go through something like that.
And I think, like, the other part of it is that, like, he's
talk more on the mic.
Yeah, sorry about that. Is, like, he's been very, very open about his struggles, and, like, not only from, like, a personal level, but also with his faith, because, like, when Justin was first coming into the scene, like, he was very much about his faith, to where, like, he also had, like, a travel pastor that would come with him, and there was just a lot of just, like, self-discovery, and there was also a lot of accountability. Sometimes he took it, sometimes he didn't take it, and just to add on what you're saying, Evie, is that, like, Lady Gaga actually released a documentary based off her last album, with of fibromyalgia, something that she deals with, to where it's like literally when she would come before the shows or the tours or anything like that, it would take her almost 2 days to just get out of bed, and showing that struggle of like, hey man, like I'm a human. Like I am not perfect whatsoever, but there is actually some power and empowerment from what I stand by. But there's a personal human element of like, I'm not perfect, but I'm trying here. And I think I think it's just like, we talk about this all the time, like adding chapters to your story.
Yeah, and there was an interview of Lady Gaga. It was like 2 weeks before she released anything, and I wish that more people watched it, because it was one of those interviews that was just kind of like, she was at a conference, and it was something that like not a lot of people grabbed onto, but she was sitting down and she was talking about how when she first started off in the industry, like a lot of people were just throwing stuff at her and she just kept saying yes and yes because it's just making her bigger and bigger. And then all of a sudden she like looked in the mirror and she didn't recognize herself, and she didn't even understand the person that she became. So then she was like, well, what if I start saying no? And so like do this promotion or like photo shoot, and she was like no, and like she started saying no, and she started having a stance, and like there was a lot of backlash that she had to deal with on a mental basis. But she was like, I hated the person that I looked at in the mirror. I looked at the person, I didn't even recognize her, and like I just stopped wearing makeup and I stopped doing all the things that people were telling me to do, and that physically hurt me, and mentally, like she was like, I was not myself, so I had to just stop. I said no. And that's something that I feel like is very not recognized in the music industry, because we're so like forced to be doing something. What's the next best thing? Like, this is best for money purpose wise. Like, this is what's best for our, like, I don't know, labels or whoever you're signed to. Like, this is what's best for us. You have to say yes because you're on a contract. So like, that's not recognized in the music industry. So like in Justin's aspect of things, like, people are probably throwing all kinds of stuff at him, and he's finally saying no because he physically can't. Right. Because he's not able to, and they have to understand that, like, if he's not dealing with drugs, he's got to be dealing with something else. And normally, if an artist is dealing with drugs, it's because there's a backlash of things that he's dealing with mentally that he just can't. So, like, that's something that needs to be recognized in music. It's hard. It's so difficult. And like when you finally get a voice for yourself, that's so admirable. And like I respect that in so many ways. So I'm excited to see what is going to happen. Once he I hope everything gets like figured out. I want him to get back on track and get healthy wise, and I'm excited to see where he's headed. Because
John, what are your final thoughts?
I mean, I think it's like we've kind of just been talking about this all day. During this podcast, is like, it's so awesome the opportunity there is just for support and independence, particularly like towards like a Justin Bieber's like a situation, and also like the platform that he has, and taking advantage of that platform and in terms of support, because like, I mean, if we're talking like, again, like 10 years ago, you don't have that support. It's just a totally it's a culture shift. It's just it's a totally different situation, to where it's just like these things are more accepting because there are those programs, and also like in terms of like connecting with fans, you know, like people who deal with there's a total like community of people who just deal with Lyme disease. And like this is a person that you're looking up to. This is an icon. Like, regardless of if you agree with what Justin Bieber has done or not, like he's still an icon. He still lasted within the years that he's lasted in. He's still an icon, and I feel like it's a really empowering type of spot to where it's like, hey, you can really take advantage of your platform and be like, hey, I can support these people even though I'm going through this thing, or I can feel sorry for myself.
or you can figure out ways how to rebuild yourself. I mean,
Right.
it's a lot of different
Right.
obstacles at once, and that's why I'm kind of looking forward to see where the music is now, where the music has grown. But also, part of me just wants to hear. I know he's got a documentary coming out, and I know it's on YouTube. But part of me just wants to kind of just hear where he's at mentally and physically. And I want it raw. I don't want it produced. I don't want it super micromanaged so it looks good for the label. I just want that very honest response of, hey, here's what I'm dealing with. And I think there's a good chance we're going to see it.
Right.
With that being said, I do want to talk about a issue in terms of hiring and also making sure that everyone is accepted when they are being interviewed for a job. I'm talking about the NFL's Rooney Rule. The Rooney Rule was a policy that was instituted in 2003, which mandated all teams to interview a minority candidate prior to hiring a GM or coach. The reason why there was some scrutiny in this offseason is all but one, Ryan Rivera in Washington, of available coaches went to mostly white coaches.
Okay.
So a lot of the opportunities that we saw with, other coaches of color just weren't being interviewed for some strange reason. We were seeing that as an issue. I'm not going to stay on this too long, but the one thing I will say for short is if somebody is qualified and if they have the resume, why not give them the shot?
Well, I feel like it's embracing equality. I feel like that anybody should, and I'm just gonna state this. I feel like the NFL is very old, very old school in terms of the dynamics of its approach. So what I mean by that is like my feminist side might come out in this way, but I feel like there should be more opportunities towards any types of people, not just race. It should also be open to women who should be provided the opportunity, not only towards refs but also coaches, assistant coaches. I'm not saying like I just feel like the NFL, with the research that I've done and stuff like that, it is very. I'm not saying they're not being open towards those things, and I'm just calling the NFL out as it is. I just feel like it's open because it's trending, and that's my opinion. I feel like
you feel like they following the trend and not really setting the
that's
trend.
right. That's right.
Which is counterproductive.
That's right, because because I'm not gonna call the NFL out for what it is, but like we can go down this rabbit hole and like they didn't fix things with necessarily their helmets or with veterans that had weren't getting the benefits from the NFL until it was like a legit problem. Like,
Right.
and I'm not trying to call out Goodell, but like Goodell only reacts whenever they're getting like national news against them because he doesn't want to get like a bad like self-image.
Well, it's too late. People already feel some type of way about Goodell.
Right. And it's just my opinion. I just I'm not saying like an extremist way to where it's just like we are always growing. In my approach is like we are always growing as a society. We have the tools to grow as a society. It's our choice to take them or not. And I just feel like the NFL is just very, very stuck in their ways because they have it. They have the opportunities. There's so much money in the NFL. And like we're talking about like how many games is it, Everett? Like 15 games a year?
16 games a month, split up between 32 teams. So
And
32
as much
teams are
money is
playing
coming
a
in-
16-game schedule.
And as much money as it is coming into that, you're telling me that you can't invest into to opportunities that could bring equality towards like. I'm not just saying like men or women. I'm also talking about like just any types of people and also in terms of race too, because it shouldn't just be like white male driven. I'm not trying to go down that rabbit hole, but what I am saying is that we should be more open to the opportunity to provide someone else, as someone provided us an opportunity.
Sure, and I think to answer your question is, I mean, if you're qualified, if you've got everything that they've been looking for, why not be considered? It's kind of just narrow it down to the black and white. Like,
Yep.
here it is. Like, if you are qualified, if you've got all the stipulations that we're looking for, why not be considered?
You want to know why?
Go for it.
Politics.
Yep.
There you go.
Anyway, we're going to move on
That is
to...
it at the end of the day. Like, legit.
Pretty much it.
We are going to move on to, and ending this in good news, Rolling Stone has reported that there will be a Let's Go Crazy, a Grammy tribute to Prince, entitled Let's Go Crazy.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
I'm so excited.
This will be held on January 28th, 2 days after the Grammys, at the Los Angeles Convention Center, and will be broadcast in April. The former Prince drummer Sheila E. will serve as the night's musical director alongside Prince's associates Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. The lineup will also include Beck, Common, Foo Fighters, Her, Earth, Wind and Fire, St. Vincent, Mavis Staples, Chris Martin, Gary Clark Jr., and Jonas.
Can I ask this question?
That's a heck of a lineup.
So, can I?
I
can
get
just
goosebumps just thinking
the,
about it.
the roles on this. So, Evie, where were you when Prince? When you heard about like that Prince had died?
Where was I? I was at work. I was sitting at work, and I read the article, and literally my heart sank. I just remember someone came up to me telling me, because I don't go on Facebook very often. Like, I'd like when I'm off, or like when I'm doing stuff, I turn my phone off. So like I'm very like radio silent when it comes to that. And I think I remember someone coming up to me and telling me that it happened, and I was like, I just was in denial. Like, it was just, no, that's not true. That's got to be fake news. Like, you're just coming up with just, you know, how those articles come out, like,
right.
Oh, this person's got some. Like, you have to, like, triple fact check that one, because that's a real heartbreaking one.
I remember me and Everett were traveling to the Launch Music Conference. It was me, Everett, and Jess, my sister, and we just thought it was fake news. Mm-hmm. We thought it was spam. Like,
Instant
you remember that,
denial.
Everett? Like,
Yeah, because I remember I was scrolling through my phone, and then I saw Prince that. I'm like, oh, this got to be a hoax.
we legit thought it was.
And then as I read more into it, I'm like, oh no, this is national news.
It's just like, it's so interesting because it's like, who just recently died from, I'm surprised we're not covering this. The drummer of Rush.
Oh yeah, true.
Oh,
I mean,
gosh.
I didn't know if y'all knew that much about him. I didn't know that much about him, so I didn't want to report something I didn't know.
Yeah,
about.
no, I mean, like, me and my drummer Logan were just talking about this. I mean, it was just like, are you serious? Like, these are legit, like, legends, I mean, like, that are just, like, passing away. And it's just, I want to have an appreciation, like, towards that, because it's just, like, it's all about, like, what you put into your life, and, like, this is, like, your one moment. And if, like, you want to talk about, like, those two legends, like, Prince just, like, represented, like, so many different things.
And
Yeah,
that's
he was
the
a-
scary part, is
He was a
that
pure musician.
we're at that age where we're seeing all of our legends that we grew up with, and like what, like, all pass away, and like start getting at ages where like we won't have them anymore.
Right.
Like, it's terrifying,
Right.
because like we knew them while they were doing it, and we know them while they're like retiring and becoming like their elderly selves, and it just makes me so sad. Like, it's
Bowie, man.
terrifying. Oh my gosh.
I mean, like, you want to talk about Bowie, like, not even music, Robin Williams, like, there's just so many legends.
I bawled my eyes out when Robin Williams passed away. Like, I was so heartbroken.
But, yeah, no, I mean, like, just, like, on a lighter note, I mean, like, especially, if it's okay, like, I just want to tap onto the whole Rush thing. I mean, like, I can't even imagine. Like, you're talking about Rush. Like, this band has been a band for years, bro. Like, these three guys were brothers for years. It's like almost talking about the Beatles, bro. Like they have been a group for like 20 years, or even if that. Like, they had done like world tours together. Like, just to build that bond just together, just for a regular band, just to do that. But then to do that on just a national stage, because they were saying that he had cancer, and what's interesting about this is, like, he had cancer for
talk more to Mike.
He had cancer for about 3 years, and Rush had like canceled their tours and everything mainly because of that. And they were trying to get him to a healthy spot so that they could tour again towards like their last leg, their final tour, and stuff like that. And just add what Evy's saying, I think it's like, I think it's such a, it sounds twisted, but I think it's such a cool thing that we had the opportunity to see these people, because I remember
see them in their prime, and
yeah, and it's like, I remember like my mom and dad would like always talk about the greats and be like, oh, you should have heard this person, oh, you should have heard this person, oh, you should have heard this person. And it's so cool, like, on a positive note, to like, hey, I was there for this person and I saw this person live, and like, just the person that they were, just one-on-one, was like dope, just so dope. And that's the positive towards that. But also, like, I think it's so cool to see, not to tap into a personal note, but like with one of my clients, with Christina Grammy, like, when you get to know somebody on such a personal note and see the struggle and the influence that they've been able to put on multiple people's lives, that's why you do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So with that being said, guys, I want to thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure.
I wanted to kind of give you guys the floor, and also I wanted to kind of, you guys have an announcement that's long overdue.
Yes.
So the floor is yours. You are more than welcome to tell the people what y'all got going on.
You want me to start this?
Go for it with the dates and stuff, because you know all the specifications of scheduling.
Yep. So, just give a little background. My band, Jon Garcia and the Hopeless Romantics, we have kind of took a hiatus for the last year. We've taken a hiatus for last year, and because we just need to get our stuff together. We play a lot of shows, and Everett's a testament to this. We play a lot of shows, and we just wouldn't have anything to sell. And so recently we went on I believe it was a 5-6 day tour with Chad Saligo of Breaking Benjamin for the Thicker Than Water tour, Silence No More, Walking with Lions, and a Whiskey Grin, which went great. It was a great time. And so with the new members of JHR, with Logan and Cy, which has been the forefront of JHR, it has been absolutely great. It's been absolutely phenomenal. And so with that said, Evy in that time has moved to the area, and just give a little touch base on that.
Yeah, I was living in Nashville for about 4 years, and I wanted to go there for more music and stuff, but the place, like, Nashville is so amazing, but it also is super congested with musicians. So I kind of took a step back, and I just was writing for songwriters and kind of getting them in order and getting accustomed to really structuring how I write music. And then all of a sudden I took a step back, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to focus on myself. So I moved back home back into Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and I really focused on my music, and with the help of Full Tilt Productions of Jason Schaefer, he introduced me to an amazing artist, Dubby Got Bars, and him and I have been collaborating on a lot of stuff as well. So if you don't know who he is, look him up, because he's fantastic. But I will be doing a music video with him, and we're just bouncing back and forth on how, like, bigger we can structure things. And and I also have been recording singles of my own, so it's kind of in this path of releasing. I'm just making sure that I, approach it in the right way. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been working on. I've I know I've been radio silent for those who are Evy Zee fans because I've been dealing with personal stuff as well, but I feel like my stuff has just come back way more stronger. So, do you want to...
So, with that said, I mean, like, we both have, like, me and, for the record, me and Evy are best friends who worked on multiple projects with each other, with Springwood and with JHR, and we found ourselves in the same spot. We really just needed to work on ourselves, and we were able to develop just an awesome friendship.
Yeah, for sure.
And so what we've decided is that in February 20th to the 23rd, we are going to be doing our first full band tour, which it's gonna be me and Evy, my lineup, and her lineup. And what's cool about this is that there's some old JHR faces that are gonna be in
for sure.
Evy's band. And so that...
Yeah, and I actually it's kind of a Evy's back Harrisburg kind of thing also, because a lot of the musicians that I'm getting to play were old musicians that I worked with before previously, and ones that were in Jon's band previously, and like I've made promises that I'm trying to keep. So like the drummer is gonna be my drummer for the full band, and then the bassist, I believe, is going to be Jason Schaefer, so he's going to be doing the new song in Harrisburg that's going to be on the 23rd. It's going to be at the Federal Tap House. So also want to really like make this a high note is that these tickets are selling pretty fast, so if you didn't reserve your tickets yet, just reach out to any of the bands in the lineup, because they are being held pretty quickly. So
absolutely huge.
That one's gonna be a big one.
If we go down the list, I mean, like the 20th, we're having 2 dates in Baltimore. One's gonna be at Medici's, is the best way to say it, and we're just gonna split a 2-hour set. Then after that, we're going to Menchie's Yogurt, where we'll be playing an acoustic set, and like it's gonna be free frozen yogurt, bro. Like you can't get any better than that. And these are two really cool spots because it's me coming back home. Me coming back home to Maryland and relatively where I grew up. And so that's going to be really, really cool. So this is really, really cool for me.
Yeah, and we actually have some really cool guest bands that are going to be playing with us. So Saturday, what's that venue called again?
Stage West.
Yes, Stage West
in Scranton.
We are going to be playing with Send Request, so that's a big one, and
yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
that's
and then
pretty much it. And then Snow Villain's
going to be on Sunday,
which is huge Lancaster band. Grant Goldsworthy and his band is absolutely great, and I just that 23rd show is just going to be a huge show. And the thing that's really, really cool about this whole entire thing is that all of us like get a chance to like go like headline in this whole entire run, if it's like acoustic or if it's gonna be like full band. And obviously this isn't the first time we've ever done this. Like this will be our second go route in this.
But this is more official.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first one was more of a test run to see how everyone gets along.
It was definitely a test run, and I just like want to, on a personal note, just like first thing, thank you, my friend. You have really supported like me and Evy through this whole entire journey. Like
you've been there since day one.
Well, and like a personal note, like you know a lot of the changes that I've gone through, like. And to build the band that I have right now is like absolutely phenomenal. It's the best band I've ever had, and best place I've ever been in my life. Because going on theme, like knowing who you are and embracing that, and also embracing your value. One of the cool things about this is that we are going to be dropping our music video along with our single Kiss Kiss, which we're really stoked about. I don't know if Evy's going to drop anything during this tour.
Yes, before the tour is going to be happening, I believe one of the W Got Bars songs is going to be released. I I'm featuring on that one, so I don't know any specific dates quite yet, so I'm not going to say the title or anything yet. But Goodbye is hopefully going to be released by the end of January. I'm going to have all the dates set up once we have it mixed and mastered and everything to go. But that one's a real like slap in the face from like come back to my roots, like this is it. And then after that I'm going to be releasing quite a few. I don't know if I think that's the only one that I'm going to be releasing before the tour. I think that's the only one, but
Awesome.
Yeah, the one with Dubby is most likely going to be released in between then as well. But I'll keep if you just keep posted on all the social media, we'll update everything.
What's your social media?
So on Instagram it's Evy Zee Band, and Facebook is just Evy Zee. It's EVYZEE. I'm pretty much everywhere. So if you just Google it, you can just select whichever your social media account that you prefer.
Yeah, and our social media is JHR Music at everything. Like just JHR Music for everything. And I just like this has been an ongoing journey for the last I'd say for the last 3 months, but definitely like building this. But I also want to thank the staff that's been a part of this whole entire thing, with the videographers. We're having Dylan from Springwood, we're having Everett, we're having Everett. Everett has provided his gracious time to do this whole entire thing. We're having Dan first doing social media for us. We have two assistant managers and then a tour manager for this whole entire thing.
And the best part about it is that we're all really close friends. So we all know how each other works, and even if we get mad at each other, we can just tell each other off and then it'll be good to go. So it's really exciting.
Exactly. So
there's no unfamiliar faces in this group.
Hopefully don't nobody get left at the bus stop or anything.
Yeah,
John, you might have to walk up part of it.
It's definitely a really, really exciting moment because ever since I've known you, we've been trying to build to this. Because I remember early phone calls when I first. God, how old were you when I first met you? A millennium?
18.
Yeah, it's just since the moment that we met, we knew that we wanted to play music with each other.
Oh yeah.
And we always messed with the idea of touring with each other. Wouldn't that be so awesome if we just toured with each other? With that being said, this is not gonna be the first run. We'll obviously have our other runs and stuff like that, but it's just
we're testing the waters
moment for us.
So yeah, just an update. So the tour is from the 20th and 23rd of February. So we will be posting a mass amount of things. One of them is ticket sales. So the Harrisburg one, just keep that in mind. If you want tickets, better reach out to any of the bands that are playing. We will have tickets and ready to go. And hopefully we will have ticket sales at the door, but we'll just keep it at that. We don't know how many tickets are going to be sold, so we'll just keep that in mind.
I also want to give a huge shout out to Chris Ryder, who is going to be doing photos for this whole entire thing. Absolutely phenomenal. So he's going to be doing that with us as well.
Well, it sounds like a very eventful time and a very eventful tour, and a lot of talented people on hand for that tour. I want to thank you guys for stopping by Audio Airstrike. We definitely appreciate it. Well, this has been another edition of Audio Airstrike, and this is episode 116.
Woo!
So with that being said, we want to thank you guys for listening. We appreciate it. Follow us on social media, SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, Instagram. And also you can follow us now on TikTok as well, as we will be posting up certain clips, outtakes of the podcast that you didn't see, that you're probably not going to see unless you're on TikTok. Until next time, everybody, take care. We got another episode for y'all next week.